Page podcast featuring Scott Williams Collins.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the True Crime Page podcast. I'm your host Scott Williams Collier. Now today guys, I'm going to cover a true crime story that took place way back in 1963 in the county of Staffordshire. My partner Amanda actually researched this case a few years ago and she wrote a short blog on it, and I just wanted to cover this in the podcast because I think it's a really interesting case and I wanted to share it with you guys today. So what we're going to do, we are going to cover what led to a seemingly ordinary woman to bludgeon another woman to death in a manic attack with a hammer in the winter of 1963. Gwen Massey of the Willows, Green Lane in Rudyard, was a beautiful woman. She was a Sunday school teacher and had a passion for music, singing at concerts and churches, even once winning a top prize at a music festival in Blackpool. Gwen's first public appearance was at the age of 3 when she was lifted onto the stage at the Solid Stone Chapel at Rudyard one afternoon and told to sing. This was followed by many more as she progressed through Sunday school at the Rudyard Methodist Church. Gwen enrolled as a pupil of Miss Lucy Hall in Stoke-on-Trent, and the long years of training and discipline began. She entered the first music festival at Longton Central Hall and was successful in her class. More successes followed. She began to travel further afield to places like Newcastle, Leek, Biddulph, and by now her particular talent for lady singing was attracting attention. The highlight of Gwen Massey's singing career came when she went to Blackpool Music Festival and triumphed. At the important Liverman St Anne's Festival, she won the soprano solo and went on to be adjudged the most outstanding performer. A fine singing voice had dominated Gwen Massey's life since the age of 3. It was a talent which brought her an escape from country life into a world of music extending through the north of England. Singing provided her with new friendships, and one significant friendship which she would make 2 years prior to the murder of Mary Walton. On that fateful evening, the small town of Congleton became the crossroads of 3 lives, an evening when Gwen sang a duet with Frank Walton. Frank Walton was a leading man in amateur operatics. This meeting marked the beginning of an affair which would eventually end with the murder of Frank Walton's wife, Mary, at the hands of his lover, Gwen Massey. The striking brunette's passion for music would be the reason that ultimately led to her downfall 2 years later. It was a very cold winter. There had been a keen frost overnight on Friday the 8th of February in 1963. A red mini estate with its lights still on had been abandoned in front of Malcop Castle, High Street, Malcop. A few people had noticed the unfamiliar vehicle, but thought it had lightly broken down. The following day, Mr. Regan, a curious bus driver, decided to take a closer look. He rubbed the frost away from the window and peered inside with his torch. To his horror, he had discovered the body of 52-year-old Mrs. Mary Elizabeth Walton, slumped across the back seat of the car. An investigation soon uncovered a horrific crime of passion. The police discovered that Gwen Massey was previously having a secret love affair with Mary Walton's husband, Frank Walton, with whom she sang a duet with in Congleton 2 years previously. This moment marked the start of an affair which continued until Mrs. Walton found out in October in 1962. Although at this point she did not know who the affair had been with, Mary put an end to the affair. Gwen Massey was desperate to continue the love affair with Frank and believed the only person that stood in her way was Frank's wife, Mary. She arranged a meeting with Mrs. Mary Walton. Before the killing, the two women met in the car park of the Plough pub at Hendon. This was at Massey's instigation. She may have already had murder in mind. At all events, she wanted a showdown with the 52-year-old Mrs. Walton, who knew that her husband was seeing another woman, but didn't know it was Massey. After a conversation, the pair got into the cars and Massey led the way back to her bungalow at Rudyard. But Mrs. Walton never went inside. As soon as they arrived, Massey revealed herself as Frank Walton's mistress. According to Massey, after revealing who she was, Mary Walton hissed at her and a struggle ensued, resulting in the larger Mary Walton falling to the ground. It was at this point when Massey assaulted and murdered Mary with a hammer. Whilst there, Gwen viciously attacked Mary with a brick hammer, striking her at least 8 times in the head. She then bundled Mary's lifeless body into Mary's own car and drove her up to Mow Cop, where she abandoned the car with Mary's body slumped across the back seat. Amazingly, Gwen then apparently walked 11 miles back home through a blizzard and large snowdrifts in freezing conditions wearing a pair of stilettos in order to evade capture. However, witnesses had seen Gwen on her journey back home in the blizzard. Only Gwen herself knows if murder was the intention when she arranged that meeting that day, or if it came about through a fit of anger. On the 17th of February, at 6:30 in the morning at the police station, Sergeant Allen said that Massey sat quietly looking out of the window with tears in her eyes. The sergeant said he put a blanket around her shoulders and they sat quietly looking out the window together. As Gwen leaned on his shoulder, she said, "He hasn't got her and he hasn't got me." The court case began in May of 1963 at the ancient castle building at Cheshire Assizes. Before the hearing at Chester Assizes, Gwen Massey retracted her confession, but she was found guilty and sentenced to life. After just an hour and a quarter on the 29th of May in 1963, the 12-man jury found Gwen Massey guilty of murdering Mary Elizabeth Walton on the night of February the 8th in 1963. Massey, during her prison time, was apparently a model prisoner. Astonishingly, she would only serve 6 years of her prison sentence and was released after very good behaviour at the age of 40 on the 30th of May in 1969. The people of Leek still argue about this case. Did Gwen Massey trudge through the snow that night alone in 1963 after committing such a dreadful crime? After committing such a brutal murder, I think Gwen Massey was extremely fortunate to have such a short prison sentence. This is one of my big bugbears about the British justice system. We seem to be far too lenient with violent offenders in this country. To commit such a violent offence on an innocent woman, an offence I believe was likely premeditated and born out of jealous rage, to serve 6 years is complete madness to me. It's completely crazy, and it's something I don't understand. Not only is our justice system too lenient, I don't know about you guys, but I also feel that it seems to me anyway, that it seems to be even more lenient for female offenders. I'm sure if this crime had been committed by a man, he would have served a much longer prison sentence. Let me know what you think about that, guys. Anyway, pop a comment down. I always read the comments. If you want to ask me a question and express your opinion and tell me what you think, I'll definitely read through them and get back to you. Right, that's it from me this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this short crime story. I thought it was a very interesting case, which is why I wanted to share it with you all today. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell It doesn't cost you anything, and it'll keep you up to date with all my content. Like I said, I'm going to be back again next week with another crime story, a true crime story. I'm going to be mainly covering cold cases, but I will occasionally cover stories like this. Basically anything I find interesting that I want to share with you guys. So just before I sign off today, I just wanted to do a couple of shout outs to a couple of my good friends. The first one is to my friend Adam Dower. Now, I've known Adam for over 20 years. He's a very talented guy. He's a musician. He did the soundtrack for my podcast. He also does videography, advertisements for businesses. He can make banners. He's a very talented guy. Do us a favour, go and check out his Facebook page. It's called A&A Media. So go and check that out. Give his page a like. And like I said, if you're interested in anything like that, if you've got a business or if you want someone to make you a soundtrack for a podcast or for an advertisement, if you want somebody to help you with some visual advertisements like banners and things of that nature, if you want to try and improve, your brand and make it look more professional, go and check Adam out. I'll put all his details in the information under the video, so check those out. The other person I wanted to mention as well is another friend of mine, Pat Regan. Pat's an author from Southport. He's wrote lots of books, thought-provoking books on politics and religion and things of that nature. He's also got a YouTube channel called The Peddling Piper, so be sure to check that out. I'll put Pat's information under the information on this video as well for you to have a look at. So go and check him out. Give Pat a sub. Go and check out Adam's Facebook page as well. They'll really appreciate that, and it means a lot to me as well. Thank you. Anyway, that's everything from me today. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Be good to one another, and until next time, I'll see you soon.